everybody. Thank you so much for coming back. So let's get into it. In winter 2019, I graduated from North Carolina A&T State University with a degree in fashion design and merchandising. At the time, we were about to head into a pandemic. Retail was making a massive shift in how it did business with its consumers and its clients. So my aspirations of being a visual merchandiser probably weren't as practical during that time. But I still wanted to find a career that would be fulfilling, both creatively, analytically, and a career in visual merchandising was just something that I had to at least give a shot. So I started visual merchandising and opened my first store, Charlotte Russe, and I was the visual director. So that was happening during the day. But at night, I was working for the United States Postal Service as a mail handler. I had been there for like 3.5 years, and I was working the graveyard shift. For those of you who don't know, that is the third shift. I was working 11 to 7 or 10:30 to 5 or 6. The hours were not great, and it did massive damage to my health, and I just wanted a better lifestyle. While I was at the post office and going through school, I wasn't just doing those two things. During my time at A&T and even before that, while I was working at the post office and having several odd-end jobs, I was a virtual assistant. I was managing social media content, I was creating graphics, organizing content and data. I was also creating websites. I was auditing blogs. I was really working on products and personas. All those things and more that you work on when it comes to getting into UX design. But I had no idea that I was preparing myself. So visual merchandising at the time was shifting, and I knew I had to pivot. I just didn't know how. And in 2020, I met this beautiful guy. He told me, hey, I think you would be a really good fit for UX design. And at the time, I'd never heard of UX design. I didn't know what it was. And so this was just a few years ago, like 3 years ago. I didn't know that it would change my life. So I went to Skillshare.com and I took a quiz. Whenever you set up an account with Skillshare, they'll ask you what your interests are, things you've already done, and they'll come up with a list of possible career choices and skills that you can learn that are attuned to what you've already done in the past and things that you might be interested in. And everything that I had done, from photography, social media management, all of these things that I had done creatively were already listed, and at the top was UXD. So I kind of felt like it was serendipitous, and so that's when I said, okay, maybe I am in the right direction. At the time, it was still at Charlotte Russe, and it was just before the holidays. It was around the time of Black Friday, and I explained to my manager, I said, hey, I think I'm gonna go into tech. And fortunately, she was extremely supportive, and so was my team. And in winter 2020, I decided to really consider tech and UX design. So I quit the visual designer role at Charlotte Russe and made my journey to learning UX design full-time during the day and working the post office at night. I told myself I would be out of the post office, not in tech, but just out of the post office by the end of 2021. I had no idea what was in store for me. I was listening to different podcasts that were out there. I was reading up a lot about it, and so I decided to get my mentor. It was time. So I found my mentor. She's based in Canada. Hi, Sarah. I promise you, she's like the absolute best. She gave me so much confidence. She helped me understand what to expect and gave me that push when it came to start applying for jobs. If you're familiar with how I got a mentor and surrounded myself with people, then there's a video right up here that you should watch on 5 tips on transitioning your life into anything new. I told myself that I would be out of the post office, not in tech, but just out of the post office and into a 9-to-5 job by the end of 2021. So I got my mentor. I got 3 web design clients. How did I get those clients? I talked to people I knew, people that I went to high school with, that I worked with, people that knew other people that needed web design, and I got to work. That's how I started my portfolio. Mentor, she's incredible. During this time, I would say it was around March or April 2021. She gave me the push and said, it's time to start interviewing. I think you should go ahead and start interviewing. And I was just like, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm ready. You know, we're still working. I'm still learning. I don't think I'm ready. She said, no, you're ready. And what I didn't know, going on interviews, even though I thought it was premature, actually taught me way more than I probably would have learned from the books or from the certifications online. This gave me an inside look of what to expect on the day in the life, and it also helped me practice for the interviews that would come in the future. I would take little nuggets, put it in my back pocket, and I would always take notes in my interviews. Even now, when I'm transitioning in my career and I get new contracts, I'm taking notes because I want to make sure that I'm understanding, and that if there's anything else that I can grab from this experience and take it into the next one, I'm definitely doing it. Everything is an opportunity. Hey guys, I am sitting here editing this video, and after watching this, I've realized that I want to make a few clarifications about my journey into UI/UX design. One, I started this journey way before even realizing that UX design was trending in tech as kind of this catch-all field for those who came from diverse backgrounds. I easily fell into that category, but what I wanted to emphasize here is that there was tons of research, tons of studying, and really deciding whether a UX bootcamp or courses were right for me. Obviously, I chose my course in being grassroots and bootstrapping my journey and gaining experience through reading, podcasting, building a community and a network of people who would help provide skills for me, and then taking those back to my clients and practicing those. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a background and a little bit of an understanding, just so it doesn't seem like I kind of finessed my way into tech. That is not at all what happened. You just happened to come across somebody with a diverse background who was already freelancing and leveraged that to gain experience, which also leads me to my last statement that there are tons of ways of getting experience and knowledge in UX UI design. So this video is definitely not for those who believe that formal education and expensive certifications are the only way. It is not. Except if you are going to become a doctor, lawyer, or therapist, please go back to school, get your certifications, and get your degree. Let's get back to the show. So, I volunteered at my first tech conference in Atlanta, Georgia, where I was responsible for all the graphics used on all the stages. When I got to Atlanta, I had never been in the context of being in tech Atlanta, and I felt like I was at home. But I did not know, on the back end while I was volunteering, I was also getting my offer letter from the company that I currently work for. So this is August 2021, and this company just reached out to me, and I didn't hear anything until I went to Atlanta and I heard back from the recruiters, and I got my very first offer letter. It was exciting, and you know, it was in such a good place because I was around people who were doing what I wanted to do, which is something that I mentioned in my other video when I give tips on how you can transition your career or do anything new and be successful. And one of the things that I mentioned is surrounding myself with people who are where I want to be or are going where I want to be. So I surrounded myself with people at that tech conference. I was around lawyers who helped me understand my contract, because it was the very first time I was signing a contract. God was looking out for a girl, okay? Not gonna lie there. I signed my contract, I sent it back, I finished, and I got my first role in tech starting in September, and I was excited.